Hello and welcome to the Maths Blast for converting units of measurement. This starts in year 4 and carries on all the way through year 5 and year 6 and can be a bit of a tricky one if we haven't absolutely sorted out in our heads how to do the measurements. Now, so there are some golden rules and I'm going to write them down, and it would be a really good idea if you press pause every time I do one and write it down as well and put it up somewhere in your house, maybe in the kitchen or on the fridge or on your desk or something, so that you have got this really important information. These are like the keys to converting units of measurement. They unlock it for you. Now, let's start with the little tiny baby measurements. Millimeters. Those are the ones that are on a ruler that are the tiny, tiny, tiny ones. Okay, they're like the size of half an ant. And there's 10 of them in every centimetre. So 10 millimetres equals 1 centimetre. And then we look at the centimetres, which are, get your ruler out, have a look at how big a centimetre is, and then think about how big a metre is. Try and do it with your arms. You can't quite see on the screen, but try and do it with your arms. Measure out a metre. That is 100 centimetres. Okay, now, when we have the metre, the next one up from a metre is a kilometre, and there are 1,000 metres in a kilometre. You might need to see that a metre is a big step, so maybe next time you go on a walk you can count 1,000 big steps and see how far you get. It's quite a long way. 1,000 metres equals 1 kilometre. So that's all our units of measurement for distance. But we can also change units of measurement, convert between one to the other, with units of capacity, which is liquids, how much liquid fits into a jug or a bottle or a glass, or even a swimming pool. And we can talk about units of weight. And to give that its correct science word, it would be units of mass. But for the sake of maths here, we're going to talk about weight. So first of all, weight and then capacity. So with weight, we have grams and kilograms. It's a bit easier than measurement. And grams and kilograms, like kilometers, there are 1,000 grams in 1 kilogram. Make sure I get it right. And there are also, for 1 litre, 1,000 milliliters in 1 litre for capacity. There's also centilitres. They don't come up so often, but there's centilitres. And because they're called cent, what do you think that might mean? Cent, century, cent, like a cents and a dollar. Cent means 100, so per cent as well. So cent means 100. So there are 100 centilitres in 1 litre. That one doesn't come up quite so much. It's just down there at the bottom of the screen, you see it. So these are the ones that we need to concentrate on. And just for information, sometimes further on in year 5 and 6, we do start to have to convert between what we call imperial measurements and metric measurements. Imperials are the old-fashioned feet, inches, yards, miles, and metric are the more up-to-date modern centimetres and metres. Don't worry too much about the imperials for now, because you will usually be given the conversion for those. It's really important that you know the metric units of measurement. So converting between the two, if we know all of this, this is what you've written down just now. You're going to put it up somewhere where you can see it all the time. But how do we change between the two? Well, it's all about timesing and dividing by 10 or 100 or 1,000. There's a video on that, so if you're not sure, pop over to the video on that and have a look at that. Dividing and timesing by 10, 100 and 1,000. And a way to think about it is to visualize it in your head. So if you are trying to change centimeters into millimeters, you know that 1 little centimeter on my ruler, 1 little centimeter is lots and lots of millimeters. So if we're changing from centimeters into millimeters, the number is going to go up. So we need to multiply by 10. But if we're changing from millimeters into centimeters, the number is going to go down. And so we need to divide by 10. Okay, and then we apply the same kind of rule, but obviously dividing and timesing by 100 or 1,000, depending on how many there are. So you can write this in your chart as well. We can say, well, how many centimeters in a meter? There's 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So if I need to change the 1 meter into centimeters, I'm going to times by 100. And if I'm changing the centimeters into meters, I'm going to divide by 100. Similarly for the kilometers, to change 1,000 meters into a kilometer, I need to divide by 1,000. And to times kilometers into meters, I need to times by 1,000. And you can fill the rest of these in. So divide by 1,000, times by 1,000. Divide by 1,000, times by 1,000. Now, this last one, we're back to hundreds, aren't we? So divide by 100 and times by 100. Now, if you have that all written down and put somewhere where you can see it really clearly, and you've done your revision video on timesing and dividing by 10 and 100 and 1,000, you will be all set for this. But let's just do some examples, shall we? So, clear that off. Make sure you've got it written down. Press pause if you haven't. And we'll do some examples. Okay, so if we have, 7.5 kilometers. Now, if you look at your chart, if we're turning kilometers into meters, then the number is going to be getting bigger, isn't it? Because kilometers are much bigger than meters. There's going to be lots more meters inside those kilometers. So we need to times by something. Is it 10, 100, or 1,000? So remember that there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer, so we need to times by 1,000. So the 7 moves 3 digits to the left, which is 7,500 meters. Okay, what about, let's do some grams. Let's do 0.6 kilograms. Now, kilograms into grams, again, that number is going to be getting higher, so we need to multiply. And to multiply by 1,000, we move this digit 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3, it goes into the hundreds column. 600 grams. Let's do some litres and milliliters. What about changing, instead of timesing now, let's do some dividing. So what is 1,450 milliliters in litres? Now we're changing from milliliters into litres, so the number is going to get smaller. So this time we're dividing, and dividing by 1,000 because there's 1,000 milliliters in a litre. So dividing by 1,000, all the digits move 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. The 1 goes into the units column, and the 4, 5 go in the tenths and hundredths column. Okay, now the kind of questions you will get on those, I'm going to leave it there because it's an explanation rather than examples. There will be some questions for you to follow coming up. So I'm going to leave it there for now, but the kind of questions that you might get will give you 2 measurements in a question. And it's really important, like one might be in meters and the other might be in kilometers, and it'll say, can you find the difference? Like how much further has he got to travel? You've got to be able to convert those measurements into the same units so that you are subtracting meters from meters rather than meters from kilometers. Okay, so just make sure that you know how to do this so that you can change meters into kilometers and you can change grams into kilograms, so that when you're adding, subtracting, multiplying them, etc., you are doing them with the same units. Okay, I really hope that helps, and I shall see you in the next Maths Blast.